Alert. Multiple missiles detected. Carrier group has 4 minutes to respond. The headline flashes across defense networks as klaxons wail below decks. In the Combat Information Center, every second feels heavy. Somewhere over the horizon, plumes of fire have lifted Chinese anti-ship missiles skyward, their trajectories arcing toward billion-dollar warships. Commanders scramble. Sailors run to battle stations. Electronic warfare teams race to jam enemy sensors, while Aegis radar arrays spin, searching for the incoming threat. With each passing moment, the window for action narrows. 4 minutes, compressed into a heartbeat, determines the fate of thousands and the future balance of power in Asia. In those few moments, every assumption of naval power is upended. The vastness of the Pacific, long a shield for American forces, now seems to shrink. The real challenge is not just geography, but the tyranny of time. Distance, once a buffer, becomes a weapon in the hands of a missile-armed foe. The enemy's missiles close the gap faster than ships can maneuver. In this new era, victory belongs to those who can decide and act in minutes, not hours. The clock, not just the map, rules the sea. For a century, navies measured power by tonnage, guns, and the reach of their aircraft carriers. The Blue Water Doctrine presumed that the ocean was a vast chessboard. Fleets maneuvered for position, projecting power across wide distances and threatening enemy shores from afar. The side with more ships and bigger carriers held the advantage. Commanders believed in standoff. If you could keep your fleet far enough from enemy coastlines, you could avoid danger and strike on your terms. American carrier strike groups became floating air bases, able to launch sorties hundreds of miles from their decks. The world's oceans seemed to offer limitless maneuver space. This logic worked for generations. During the Cold War, surface ships and submarines prowled the open sea, tracking adversaries and keeping land-based threats at arm's length. The Pacific, in particular, promised a buffer of thousands of kilometers. Geography and fleet size created comfort, an illusion of safety. But the rise of precision-guided missiles and the new geography of East Asia are changing all that. The old rules no longer apply when distance itself becomes the enemy. East Asia is a maze of islands, straits, and shallow seas. The so-called First Island Chain, stretching from Japan through Taiwan to the Philippines, boxes in the Chinese coast. The Taiwan Strait is barely 180 kilometers wide. The Luzon Strait, gateway to the Philippine Sea, is a narrow gap between two archipelagos. The Philippine Sea itself, once a sanctuary for U.S. carriers, now feels closer to danger than ever before. These waters are crowded. Civilian ships, fishing boats, and military vessels jostle for space. Undersea geography adds another layer of complexity. Shallow spots and underwater ridges limit submarine movement and detection. In such an environment, large fleets cannot maneuver freely. Every route is a potential choke point, every strait a trap. Geography also limits warning time. Radars and sensors must peer through cluttered seas, false contacts, and electronic jamming. The closer a fleet sails to the Chinese coast, the less room it has to dodge incoming threats. The Pacific's vastness shrinks to a sliver of maneuver space. For the modern commander, geography is no longer a shield. It is a cage that constrains choices and accelerates crisis. China's new missiles, like the DF-21D, DF-26, and YJ-18, are purpose-built to threaten ships far from shore. The DF-21D, called the carrier killer, can strike moving ships over 1,000 kilometers away. The DF-26 reaches even farther, up to 4,000 kilometers. The YJ-18, a sea-skimming cruise missile, closes in at supersonic speed. These weapons rewrite the meaning of distance. No longer does distance guarantee safety. Let's break down the numbers. A DF-21D missile can reach a carrier 1,500 kilometers away in under 12 minutes. The DF-26, with a 4,000-kilometer range, takes about 20 minutes. The YJ-18 races the final stretch at Mach 3, slashing reaction time to just 5 minutes. The decision window is brutally short. Every kilometer closer to shore means less time to react. It's a contest of nerves as much as technology. The modern Navy relies on what's called the kill chain. That's the loop of detection, decision, targeting, and engagement. In the missile age, this chain is under relentless pressure. Sensors have to pick up threats at maximum range. Data needs to flow instantly from ship to ship. Commanders are forced to choose responses, launch interceptors, jam signals, or maneuver ships without even a moment's delay. But with missile flight times measured in just minutes, the kill chain is squeezed almost to the breaking point. There's simply no time for debate, no room for second guessing. Automated defense systems, like the US Navy's Aegis, have to sift real signals from decoys and clutter, then cue missile interceptors in seconds. Errors can compound fast. If a radar blip is misread, or a communication link fails, the entire defense could unravel. Speed of command matters just as much as the quality of hardware. The pressure is, honestly, relentless. The closer a fleet operates to China, the more compressed the kill chain becomes. In this arena, those who can process information and act first are the ones who live to fight another day. Defending against missiles is, well, expensive, and honestly, pretty uncertain. Each US interceptor missile costs millions, while offensive missiles can be produced in large numbers for less. China can fire salvos of inexpensive missiles, overwhelming defenses through sheer volume. For every defensive shot, attackers can launch several more threats. Surface ships only carry so many interceptor missiles. Salvo attacks force ships to choose targets quickly, risking exhaustion of their magazines before the attack even ends. What's worse, some missiles are just decoys, meant to drain defenses and open gaps for the real killers. The missile exchange ratio is, frankly, not in the defender's favor. A single successful hit on a carrier or cruiser is a strategic catastrophe. The attacker only needs to get lucky once. The defender has to be perfect every single time. This imbalance is forcing navies to rethink their posture. Staying farther away buys time, but, limits the ability to project power. Moving closer means accepting that defense may not hold against a determined salvo. Missiles aren't China's only tool. The People's Armed Forces Maritime Militia and the China Coast Guard operate daily in disputed waters. Often disguised as fishing boats or research vessels, these ships swarm foreign vessels, harass neighbors, and stake claims without firing a shot. This gray zone pressure is, honestly, relentless. It keeps regional navies and coast guards busy, draining resources and attention from higher-end threats. When backed by missile batteries on shore, the risk for escalation is always looming. It's a form of constant, low-intensity warfare designed to wear down opponents. These tactics shrink the reaction space even further. A US or allied ship responding to a militia swarm risks escalation, but doing nothing means ceding ground in the ongoing contest for the seas. The missile threat in the background ensures that every encounter, even at the lowest level, is shadowed by the possibility of sudden catastrophic violence. China uses its Coast Guard and militia to erode the advantage of distance, keeping pressure on foreign fleets and forcing them to operate ever closer to deadly missile zones. Every kilometer closer to China raises the stakes. For commanders, the risk isn't just tactical, but also political and economic. A lost ship means lost lives, lost capabilities, and possibly lost deterrence. The closer a carrier group or task force moves to the Chinese coast, the faster the timeline for action compresses. The margin for error just vanishes. Allies and adversaries are watching each move. Economic interests, shipping lanes, fisheries, undersea cables are all in play. The threat of missile attack changes the calculus for peacetime patrols, crisis response, and escalation management. Distance is no longer just a measure of miles or nautical charts. It's a measure of warning time, decision-making speed, and exposure to risk. Each kilometer closer to China is another turn of the screw. The tempo of modern naval warfare is set not just by geography, but by the tight clock imposed by missile flight times. In this new era, distance is a weapon wielded by those who can compress time and force the enemy into impossible decisions. The real battlefield is the shrinking window between detection and destruction, where minutes, not miles, decide the outcome.